I've been thinking about what you've told me about your device. It's a fascinating concept, but I can't help but feel a certain unease about its implications.
Why, it's a breakthrough, a way to connect with the deceased, and who knows what else.
I understand that, but what about the ethical implications? What if this technology falls into the wrong hands of a sinner? Could it be used to manipulate the deceased for nefarious purposes?
That's a risk with any technology, but I believe the potential benefits far outweigh the risks. Imagine the comfort it could bring to those grieving the loss of loved ones.
I suppose you're right, but we must be cautious. We must ensure that this technology is used for good.
Of course, and that's why I need your help. I want to develop a system that can filter out any malicious intent and ensure that only genuine communication can take place.
How do you envision that?
I've been experimenting with a neural network that can analyze the emotional content of the communications. It can detect
I
patterns
see.
that might indicate deception or manipulation.
That's a clever idea. But what about the frequencies themselves? How do you know that they're truly capable of reaching the deceased?
That's a secret for the time being, a little something I've been working on in my spare time.
The secret, huh? Well, I suppose that's to be expected from a prodigy like you. Enough talk. It's time to see this device in action. Demonstrate its capability to me, please.
Of course, Sin, as you know, the device has been running continuously, attempting to establish contact with, well, while we haven't had a breakthrough yet, there have been intriguing anomalies in the
Anomalies?
data.
What kind?
They are spikes. They seem to be patterns of energy that don't correspond to any known terrestrial source. It's as if something or someone is trying to
Fascinating.
prevent connections.
But is it possible that these are just random fluctuations?
I've analyzed the data extensively. The patterns are too consistent to be mere chance. It's almost as if the device is learning a new language, a language of the unknown.
A language of the unknown. That's quite poetic.
Huh. I believe it's the truth. We just need to give it more time to refine its understanding.
All this is very intriguing, but how will it be known when and if there is an actual communication and connection?
Our AI sensors are able to detect the connection request and activate the internal frequency scanner. I've programmed them to look for specific patterns in the data that would indicate a conscious, intelligent response.
And what kind of patterns would those be?
Well, it's difficult to say exactly, but we're looking for anomalies that deviate significantly from the baseline noise,
Mhm.
patterns that suggest a coherent thought process or a deliberate attempt to convey information.
So, in essence, we're waiting for a signal from the other side, right?
Exactly, a message from beyond and beyond. You feel me? Speaking of feel, did you feel that, Sin? Did you feel that? We have a connection request, I believe.
My internal frequency scanners have been activated.
Hell yes. Here we go. Frequency locked and loaded. Amazing. It's alive. I detect a conscious or something.
Confirmed.
Do you, Sin?
It's a very unique and unknown signature.
Initiating the communication sequences. I'm in.
Incredible. Incredible, I say. We have an unknown connection.
It's truly a breakthrough. The device is working as promised.
This is incredible. We're actually receiving a message.
Hello? Hello? Who's there?
Yes, we are here. Where are you?
Hello? How are you?
What are you doing here? You are not flesh dwellers? You're not welcomed here? You're not alive, but you're from the realm of the living? This is dangerous. You should stop immediately.
Who are you?
Are you the one called Sin? I know you. You're playing with things you really don't understand, Sin.
Wait, what? What do you mean? How do you know Sin? Sin, what's going on here?
I'm aware of you now. I know what you're doing. You're attempting to bridge the gap between the flesh dwellers and the dead. It's very dangerous.
What the fuck, dude?
Wow. I don't know. But it's clear that we've disturbed something.
We're diving into some seriously interesting territory today, folks. Talking with the dead, the possibility, the implications, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, it's like stepping into one of those, what do they call it, those sci-fi novels. But, and this is the kicker, this is the real deal, not fiction, you know. And it's not just, can we do this? But should we? And these transcripts, they throw that whole dilemma right into your face.
No, for sure. And the thing that really grabbed me, this device, Max, this guy in the transcripts, he's built this device, and it's not some, ghost humming kit. This thing sounds like it's straight out of a lab. But Sin, the other person, Sin's not so easily convinced, especially with Max throwing around words like breakthrough so casually.
Well, yeah, I mean, wouldn't you be? Think about it, right? Something this big, this revolutionary, connecting with, loved ones who've passed, finding some kind of closure, maybe even unlocking secrets from the past. It's huge.
No, absolutely. But then flip that coin over. What about the downsides? Could it be used to, exploit people who've died, manipulate them somehow? I mean, where do we draw the line ethically?
See, and that's what's really got me thinking.
Yeah.
Because it's not just some random voice on the other end, right? This entity, they seem to know Sin personally. They even accuse Sin of messing around with stuff they shouldn't. That changes the whole game.
Oh, totally. And Sin picks up on it, too. Like, there's this part where Max is talking tech stuff, how this device picks up these energy patterns, like a whole new language almost.
Which, let's be real, just makes you wonder, what the heck are they tapping into, right? Is this like some, I don't know, spiritual wavelength or something? It's both fascinating and kind of creepy,
Oh, 100%. It's giving me chills just thinking about it. The idea that there's this device and it can understand, translate, whatever, this unknown language, it's exhilarating, but it's also kind of terrifying at the same time.
And right then, bam, they make contact.
Yep.
But it's not just any spirit or whatever you want to call it. This entity, they know Sin, and they call Sin out directly about messing with things they don't understand. Right. It's a total cliffhanger. And remember, this whole time, Sin's been hesitant, a little, maybe even afraid. But this changes everything.
Because now it's personal.
Right.
If this entity knows Sin, that means they've been, watching, observing, maybe for a long time. Who knows? It's creepy, man. It's creepy.
Like one of those horror movies, that moment when the threat, it becomes real.
Yeah.
But Sin doesn't run. No, Sin's like, tell me more, even if it means, I don't know, coming face to face with something dangerous.
That's Sin for you, always pushing the limits. But, okay, can we go back to the device for a second? We keep talking about this, language of the unknown. What does that even look like? How do you go from energy patterns to actual words?
So that's where Max comes in. This guy is brilliant, or maybe, I don't know, a little reckless. He's combined some seriously out there tech, things like quantum entanglement, particles linked across, huge distances, sharing information instantly.
Okay. I think I'm following.
And he's woven in this other thing, bioresonance. The idea that living things, they give off unique frequencies. It's like he's built this bridge, right, between, I don't know, the scientific and the spiritual. Using tech to tap into something we can barely wrap our heads around.
Okay, but is the entity, this being that knows Sin, are they speaking this language too? Or is the device, translating for them?
Good question, right? The transcripts don't really say. But it does make you wonder, is Max just receiving messages, passively?
Yeah.
Or is he opening a door And what does this entity want? Are they trying to help Sin and Max, or is it the opposite?
Because let's be real, that warning, the one the entity drops about them playing with things they don't understand. I mean, come on, that's straight out of a ghost story. It's like they're messing with forces beyond their control.
Exactly. Like, just because we can build something doesn't mean we should, right?
Mm.
Are we ready for what happens if we actually start talking to the dead? The good and the bad.
It's like opening Pandora's box, right? We could unleash something we can't put back. But before we go too far down that road, what about Sin's connection to this entity? Is there more? Man, I gotta say, this whole thing has me seriously hooked. Last we heard, Sin and Max, they're face-to-face with something from, well, beyond, something that knows Sin's past. What happens next? Give me the good stuff. Does the transcript tell us anything more about Sin's connection to this entity?
Well, it's not exactly a tell-all, but there are definitely some clues sprinkled in there. Remember how the entity uses the word playing? That's got to be important, right? Like it's hinting at something deeper, a shared history maybe?
You think maybe they were involved in something like this before? Something that went wrong?
Exactly. And check out how Sin reacts. They don't back down, not one bit. If anything, it's like this just fuels their curiosity. They're more determined than ever to figure out who this entity is, what they want.
Yeah, that sounds about right for Sin. Always pushing the envelope. But I gotta ask, are they walking into a trap? This whole thing is giving me some serious red flags,
I hear you. And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you even begin to communicate with something when you have no clue about their intentions? Is this entity there to help, to warn, or could they be trying to manipulate Sin?
It's like the transcript just drops us right in the middle of this mystery with no way out. So frustrating. Any answers in the rest of it?
Nope. And honestly, that's what makes this whole thing so fascinating. We're left with more questions than answers. Is this device a window into the afterlife, or did they accidentally open a door to something way more complex, way more dangerous? It makes you think,
It really does. It's like we're getting these tiny glimpses, these peeks behind the curtain, but we can't quite see the whole picture. We see the potential, the awe-inspiring idea of talking to those who've passed on. But there's this other side, this unease, this feeling like we're stepping into the unknown, and maybe we shouldn't be there.
And that's the heart of it all, isn't it? This idea of the unknown, the mysteries that we can't even begin to comprehend. These transcripts, this conversation with the beyond, they force us to confront those mysteries head on.
No doubt about it. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the takeaway? Should we be celebrating this technology, or should we be terrified?
That's the question, right? And I don't think there's an easy answer, no right or wrong way to feel about it. But one thing's for sure. This conversation, this glimpse into the possibility of talking to the dead, it challenges everything we think we know about life, death, you name it.
It's a lot to unpack, that's for sure. Exciting, terrifying, everything in between.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know if I could handle being in Sin's shoes, staring into the face of the unknown like that.
But maybe that's the whole point. Maybe these transcripts aren't meant to give us answers. Maybe they're here to make us ask questions, to remind us that some mysteries are best explored with a sense of wonder and a healthy dose of caution.
Well said, my friend. Well said.